Would that be tonight or next time? I mean,
Do what?
Would that be tonight or next time? What's your call? How?
Election of officers. I didn't put that on the agenda, no, because I didn't.
We'll add it to the next one, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we'll call to order the Zoning and Adjustment Board meeting, City of Ocean Springs, Tuesday, August 12th, 2005, 5 p.m. First thing I want to do is we got some, new faces at City of Ocean Springs and here on the board. We have, David Hayden, Lethal Bowden, Nick Gant, Don Atwell, and then Will Thompson. All right, perfect. So new board members. Also, we have a new planning director.
Planning director. I want to introduce Amanda Croce. She's coming here with a good bit of experience in planning and land development, and she started last
June 30th, I mean July 30th.
July 30th.
Sorry.
As a new planning director. So I am retired again. I've enjoyed working with y'all again. You're a great bunch, and wish you well.
All right, well, thank you very much. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and it's from the April 8th, 2025 meeting. So Don and I were the only ones on the board at the time. Don, I don't know if you've had a chance to look over those. You had anything you needed to?
Yeah, I looked down, but not, so let's see.
Get any? Well, if I looked it over, didn't notice anything that jumped out, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 8th. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Don. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is old business, and we have none. So we'll move on to new business. The first item on the agenda is adopting the Zoning and Adjustment Board bylaws. And Wade, I don't know if you want to introduce that or if you want me to start kicking everything to Amanda and let her do it. Okay, perfect.
I know Amanda's very familiar with it. I know a lot of it was discussion, y'all on the drafting of them, I guess. Is there anything that needs to be added to it?
I think we have gone back and forth between ZAB members and our department several times, and I think we've kind of ironed it out, just because I know there were no bylaws that ZAB had, so we figured that with having new members come in that we kind of needed something, so that's why this is being done. But I feel like we kind of covered everything in them.
I would just add that, as Elizabeth said, both the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission, the other two commissions that we deal with, all have bylaws and deal with their operation, basically the operations of the meetings themselves.
Mhm.
This would fill in that gap to provide that for the Zoning Adjustment Board.
All right, and being a part of that, and a lot of that, back and forth, I think we do have everything covered until we find out that we don't.
Something comes up.
As is with most things of this nature. So, with that being said, I'll make a motion to formally adopt the Zoning and Adjustment Board bylaws. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, second by Will. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And new board members. So we generally don't do like you can just all aye, or we don't have to do a one by one unless there are certain things that call for a roll call vote, and we'll have to individually go one at a time. But you feel free to speak up and jump in whenever. So. All right, next item on the agenda, Cardiff Development Partners, east side of Church Street, north of Beeville Boulevard, parcel ID number 60119058.000. And we have two requests. The first one is a variance request for the reduction of the minimum landscape buffer from 20 feet to 15 feet. And so we're going to take those one at a time? Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll start with that one. And Amanda, if you want to
Actually, Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth, all right, perfect, all right.
When a new business comes on a piece of property, there is a minimum landscape buffer that has to be there between a residential and a commercial zoning. It's usually 20 feet, but they're asking for a 15 foot, to go to 15 feet. And the reduction would be a 25% reduction is what we allow. So it would be what y'all would allow, I should say. So it would be within their right to ask for a 15-foot buffer instead of a 20-foot buffer.
All right, thank you for that introduction. Any questions for staff before we bring the applicant up and let him introduce? All right, so if you'll go ahead and state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is David Wheeler, Post Office Box 264, Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm representing Carter Development Partners. The first request was a 25% reduction for the landscape buffer requirement, and also there's a sub-part of that that says credit for existing trees in the buffer area towards the planning requirements. That's all part of the first one. This one and the next one that you're going to talk about is to facilitate the settlement of an appeal that Pelican Suites, Mr. Burton is one of the members of that, and Rajesh Tooley filed to the city Board of Alderman's decision to vacate the alley, the old alley that was shown on the tax maps between the properties. That's the old boatyard property, and the property on the corner of Washington and Highway 90 that used to be the old Shell station. They appealed that decision. The council approved the vacation of the alley on the condition that my clients give Pelican Suites an easement for access. In the interim, since the appeal was filed, the parties have talked, and we're in the midst of working out an agreement that'll resolve that appeal, that'll result in the dismissal of the appeal, so the city won't have to go to the expense of going through the appeal to circuit court and potentially to the Supreme Court. Now, all of that is contingent on these variances being granted. If you see in the application, there's a highlighted section and it's red, pink, something that color. That's property that my clients are going to purchase from Mr. Tooley, who owns the house that's designated as 816 Church Avenue to the north. Pelican Suites owns 1109 Washington Avenue that fronts on Washington and runs over to the little top section of the alley that was vacated. The part on your map that shows new alley to be dedicated, that's not going to be an alley. That's going to be, we're going to deed that to Pelican Suites, and they're going to utilize that as a one-way drive to access Church Avenue from their property, so they'll have a second exit. The variance request deals with the landscape buffer north of the drive, private drive. That 15-foot is going to be there. That's the reduction that we're asking for. And also for the drive that's going to be deeded to Pelican Suites, I think the requirements are, it has to be 18 feet wide, and we're asking for 25% reduction to 13.5 feet. So that works with the 15-foot buffer between a commercial property and a residential property, and also works with the 3-foot buffer that's required between commercial developments, and that would be south of this road that's going to be deeded to Pelican Suites. So that deals with the first one that you all are looking at right now.
All right, so just to make sure, understanding, looks like you're purchasing a piece, a portion of land from 816 Church Avenue.
Yes.
And so that is what you need to do to create that 15-foot buffer.
Well, actually, we're purchasing that property from Church Street, and a part of what we're purchasing is going to be included in the private drive that's going to be deeded to Pelican, the remainder is gonna be that 15-foot that'll create the buffer between the private residence and the one-way drive in the development to the south of it.
So, and just a question, this may be, I don't know, staff, if this alley is deeded to 1109 Washington, is that just like an access easement or rights? And if it's rights, does it become its own parcel? And
I think as long as they keep it all together, and you can make it one parcel, because there are parcels in the city that are some, you know, two lots like that with something in the middle of them. But as long as it remains their property, it still counts as one whole parcel, because technically it's not big enough to really do anything on. So
Correct,
they
yeah.
have, as long as they keep ownership of what they're proposing to be their buffer, it still counts as one parcel, because they have to go and reconfigure it all, because it's 4 or 5 different parcels right now.
okay, so it'll essentially be an access easement for this 1109 Washington
Right.
over this
It will
road.
be,
Okay,
it will be fee simple deeded to them.
Okay, okay.
It won't be a public alley. It'll be.
correct, yeah, just an
Driveway.
easement for 1109
And
Washington
it'll
Avenue.
become a part of the main parcel that's on Washington Avenue. So you end up with basically a flag shape.
Well, if it becomes,
Well, I mean, it's gonna be the same owner. It's gonna own Washington Avenue and the road, the driveway.
but if it becomes part of 1109 Washington, then the new property line is on the southern end of that alley. So then it abuts the drive, and now there's no longer any landscape buffer between there and there, correct? Am I?
The buffer is going to be on the north side of the access way.
But I guess if the flat, if that road, if that alley becomes part of 1109,
Correct. Okay.
is actually deeded to them, then that parcel will then extend all the way to Church.
Correct.
And then, so then, is that not between those two parcels, is that not am I making?
Oh, so you're saying that the buffer should be on the south side of the access?
Correct, if that's part of that parcel.
Oh, nothing. I follow you, but no.
Yeah, okay.
The buffer has to be between residential used property, which
Mhm.
is 816 Church,
Okay.
and whatever is to the south of it.
Mm-hmm,
So that's why there's a buffer involved to begin with.
okay,
So I can follow you. So there's not a buffer that's required between the access corridor for 1109 Washington and the convenience store gas station. Does that kind of,
But there, there will be a 3-foot, I think there's a requirement for a 3-foot buffer between commercial property and 2 commercial properties, and that will be on the south side of the road. So there will be a landscape buffer there
yeah.
between the part to the south and the drive that's being deeded to Pelican Suites. It'll be a 3-foot buffer, and that's what the code requires for that.
okay. All right,
We're just doing the 15-foot buffer from the road north to the residence.
okay. All right, anybody else have any questions for the applicant at this time?
So there's not necessarily a hardship, but what is the hardship if you could state that?
Well, I guess the hardship is this is the agreement that we've reached with Pelican Suites and Thule to accommodate the council's decision to vacate the alley on the condition that an access be granted to Pelican Suites. Because that was one of the requirements of the vacation, was that Cardiff had to grant Pelican Suites access. And that's what this is doing. It is also settling the litigation, the appeal litigation that relieves the city of the obligation to go forward dealing with the appeal and any subsequent appeal.
And could I add also that, an unusual situation of this is that, what's the address, 816 Church, it zones commercial, even though it is in single-family residential use, which is it's a non-conforming use under the current zoning. So you've got an unusual situation in that regard, plus the limitations on the access to Lebanon and Washington. But this is an accommodation to that property to give it better access rather than just to Washington Avenue, give it access also to Church Street. So I think there's some unusual and extraordinary situations at play in this one.
I mean, realistically, since the house is zoned commercial, then, do you do the residential buffer, or do you do the commercial buffer? It's a residence now, but it's zoned commercial, so it could be sold and become an office building, and then you.
Yeah, I think the way that the UDC's worded is it's when it's a budding residential zone or residential use.
Right,
And because it's the residential use, it's here, however,
Right.
5 years from now, it may be a commercial property and the 15-foot or 20-foot buffer, not, yeah. Yeah, true, yeah. Ocean Springs is, yeah. All right, any other questions for the applicant? If anything else comes up, we'll bring you back up. So,
Okay, yeah.
thank you.
And I kind of bled into the next one because that deals with reducing the road.
Okay, yep, I appreciate that. All right, is there anybody here to speak for this request? You'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you very much. Dan Burton, address 1109 Washington Avenue. I'm speaking actually in for this because quite frankly, this, I would call it a compromise, will actually allow everybody to move forward and protect everybody's rights as related to the city, and we'll be able to effectively dismiss a lawsuit against the city because, not to go into great detail on it, but this is our final stop before we have to go to the courthouse related to this, because there is an access problem. There have been things that have done procedurally wrong against state laws, and we're prepared to move forward with that if necessary to protect our property rights. And it's never been about a money situation, and even though some people have said that, it's just a matter of having access. We have a small office building on Washington Avenue that MDOT continues to encroach on our property. That's about the second largest traffic count probably in the state, or at least south of Jackson. And it's only going to continue to get worse as we see forward, because they're going to continue to have more turn lanes there to accommodate coming towards Biloxi. So we're trying to look proactively and look forward. We run a little accounting office there. That's really not the point. What is done there. It's just being able to protect property rights, owner rights, and those two alleys have been on the books since the 1880s. Okay, so I think we've been able to work with Mr. Wheeler and his client related to it, and we just ask that we need y'all's help too. It's an unusual situation that's being requested, some of the variances and stuff like that, but I think it's in the betterment of the good of the city as well as the developers and the property owners. And we'd ask that you'd actually, consider this and approve this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else here to speak for this request? Anybody here to speak against this request? All right, and so no public feedback was received. Yeah, okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, sounds like a cleanup operation of sorts. So what is this city's position on this? We're looking, go ahead.
I think the city's position regarding the variances, we don't have a position on.
Right, okay.
It does allow the redevelopment of this corridor into a gas station convenience store. You know, the thing that goes back to the closure of that right-of-way, the city's interest in that are protected in that as part of the design review plans and review of this, that existing sanitary sewer easement will be maintained, and the city will continue to have access to it through manhole and other things. So from that standpoint, you know, as long as the city's interest in that sanitary sewer are maintained, you know, that's fine. The other aspects, other components of this, if it all makes it work and makes the development possible, at the same time improves access to Mr. Burton's property, then it seems to be it's a win for all the parties.
So that's favorable.
I don't say it's favorable.
Okay.
I think it's favorable, yes.
I have a question about the credit for the existing trees. Is the cedar tree a part of that that's listed on the map? What type of trees are in the buffer area that the credit would apply?
Excuse me.
I see a cedar tree right here in red, like on the.
Oh, the 24-inch cedar.
Is that the tree that they're requesting the credit for? There's an oak too, I believe.
There's a 20-inch oak up there.
24-inch cedar and that oak as well.
And so, Wade, I'll just, the credit, or the requested credit for, you know, I guess, towards meeting the landscape buffer requirements as laid out in the UDC, that's something that's really handled design review wise and not by
Yes,
the.
I was gonna say that that's
Yeah,
not-
okay, so, yeah, so not anything we need
That's
to
why I
be
didn't
concerned
put
about.
anything
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
That's
in
an
the
internal
motion.
matter.
Got it, got
As an
it.
internal matter, you'll be
Mhm.
covered with design review. There is a component, there are sections in the UDC under the landscaping requirements
Mhm.
that allows existing trees to be incorporated into landscaping and also gives I think it's like maybe an inch for inch credit for
Okay.
existing trees.
All right, any further discussion or questions, or would anyone like to make a motion?
Look to Live Oaks, will be to the north of the alley, I'm assuming, right?
So it's hard to see one of them.
There's two of them.
Yeah, and so there, you know, brings up, you know, where this kind of access is shown, it appears to go through a 24-inch live oak, and I guess that will either be avoided or a tree permit requested in the future.
That'd be up to the board. If removal of that is proposed or necessary,
Mhm.
that would be something that would have to go to the Board of Aldermen.
Mhm.
Or could be incorporated into whatever kind of well around it as part of the drawing. And
Right.
there are multiple ways to deal with that.
Okay. All right. And I will make a motion to recommend approval of a variance request for a reduction of the minimum landscape buffer requirement from 20 feet to 15 feet for Cardiff Development Partners, parcel ID number 60119058.000, based on the hardship that the buffer is only required because of the residential use of the property to the north, even though it is zoned for a commercial highway development and other mitigating factors. All right, so I made a motion. Would anyone like to make a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, motion, second by Don. Any further discussion or? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, so the next potential motion for the same parcel is a reduction in the minimum width for a proposed one-way alley from 18 feet to 13.5 feet. And Elizabeth, if you want to.
Yes, a one, in the UDC on page 208, the alley of a one-way traffic shall be a minimum of 18 feet wide. They are allowed to ask for a 25% variance for that, which would be 13.5. So they're within their right to do that. And yeah.
Okay. All right, any questions for staff before we bring the applicant back up? And if you just come up and say, you know, your name, address again for the record and say, hey, I said that earlier. I'm just getting you on the record as speaking during this in case
Yes.
it comes up again, so.
David Wheeler,
Yeah.
Post Office Box 264, Biloxi. His request is, that's
Yep.
mentioned that Mr. Burton requested for the drive. That's why we're asking for the reduction to 13.5 feet wide.
Okay, perfect. All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, anybody else would like to speak for this request? Anybody to speak against this request? All right, further discussion. Anybody have any questions, additional questions for staff? And I'll just state generally, what the only time I'm concerned with a, one-way alley, being under that 18-foot threshold is really if you've got, parking adjacent, somebody backing out, you need for him to back out. This has no parking spaces really adjacent to it. So I don't see that as an issue. I mean, there are existing one-way streets. There's existing two-way streets in the city of Ocean Springs that are probably 13.5 feet wide. So just wanted to say that. So if anybody doesn't have any further discussion, would anyone like to make a motion?
One more. So this is to add one parking space?
No. So this
Mile
is,
long one?
yeah, so this is the second part of this first one. So there were really two potential. So the first one was the
Yes.
landscape buffer, and so the width of this drive is 13.5 feet.
So
And by code, it needs to be 18.
All right. So they're related now?
Yeah, same parcel, kind of part of the same thing, but I wanted to break it out into two separate motions for separate discussions. If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the variance request for a reduction in the minimum width of a proposed one-way alley from 18 feet to 13.5 feet wide for parcel ID number 60119058.000. Based on the couple of factors, unusual flag-shaped lot that this is going to be put on, and also that there's not going to be any parking off of this drive, which is really the concern when you have people backing out onto a width, giving them adequate width of asphalt to kind of back onto. So motion on the floor to recommend approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Will. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? None. All right, so the motion passes. Both of those will be on the Board of Aldermen agenda, consent agenda for next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, same room. All right, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, Coast 85 Group, 1401 Government Street. Parcel ID number 60119426.000, requesting a variance for a reduction of the minimum landscape buffer requirements from 20 feet to 16.6 feet for the construction of a parking space. And, yeah, that's that one. So, Elizabeth?
All right, the applicant is requesting a 25% variance from, of a landscape buffer from 20% to 16.6 well, it's not actually 25, 16.6. So they're asking for a little bit less than 25 feet. Due to parking, this is an odd-shaped lot. It's not very big, but they require 6 parking spots for this property. And the last one would be in that landscape buffer. Sorry, here, 3.4 versus it being completely over. They just needed that little bit of extra space to have a handicap parking and meet all the requirements of the parking for this lot.
All right. Any questions for staff or discussion before we bring the applicant up? All right, then, if you'll come up, state your name and address for the record, and if there's anything you'd like to add that wasn't already added, then.
Marcus Thomas, 1911 Stewart Avenue, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I represent the owners. I'm the builder and represent the owners of the building. And they did a great job. You know, we're not asking for much. And when we first started this project, there was a spot in the front. There were 2 spots in the front, but one of them's been marked out due to line of sight. So that's kind of what that messes up a little bit on our plan. So,
Okay.
And we're really keeping a lot of grass back there. We want the landscape and we're putting some more trees back in that area too, so.
Okay. All right, any questions for the applicant? If anything comes up, we'll bring you back up.
All right,
Until then. All
thanks,
right,
guys.
thank you. All right. Anybody else here to speak for this request? Anybody here to speak against this request? All right, no public input received? Okay. All right, discussion.
So what is on the, trying to get,
So it'll be right here, and then so this is the property just to the north.
and so this is that northern,
Correct. Yeah.
that's residential.
Yes, so in this one, this case it is residential, and is being used as residential, so
And that party that lives there has
they did not
no response.
provide any public comment, no. You know, and I'll note, the city surface parking lot, just to the east of the rear of the parcel to the north. I mean, it's right on the property line, so this is, not the closest space they will have to their house if, if it's, constructed this way, so. If there's any further discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion? So I will, make a motion to recommend approval of a reduction of the minimum landscape buffer requirements from 20 feet to 16.6 feet for the construction of a parking space at 1401 Government Street, parcel ID number 60119426.000, to allow them to meet the city's minimum requirements for parking due to the unusual and exceptional narrowness of the parcel, so that they extend further back. So, motion on the table to approve. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Leo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, so audience request. Would you like to come up and say anything to the board, or? Oh, okay, all right. So no audience request. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion.
All right, motion by Don, do we have a second?
See that right?
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Sorry.
I got a second.
Yes, there are at least one for next month,
Okay.
maybe two.
Yes.
There will be,
Okay.
there will be a meeting though.
Okay.
But I'll
And I
call
meant to do
everybody,
this.
do my things, so.